Does it look really as cool as it does in some of those other YouTubers that actually know what they're doing with the camera? Well, you saw the irons. Let's do the woods. This is a golf club that you can build. Let's review one. Welcome back to the McGolf Fitting Room, or the Mick Fitting Room. Jim McCleary, most award certified club maker, club fitter. And if you would, swing and hit that bell. And if you would, follow me on the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and that way you can see more of what's going on in the shop. Just last week, I put out the Golfworks ST2 iron, or the STI2 iron, and it was a good little review. Hit it pretty far. It was a decent little, it was not a overly strong club, but it's not a player's kind of loft, and it did very, very well. And this is one that's kind of unique from Golfworks in the fact that the left-handed clubs used to stand on their own. They were kind of a model all of their own. Well, now it's part of a left and right-handed set, and that's a good thing. I think that way, of course, it's really cool to have your own golf club, but a lot of times, it doesn't look right and attention might not be paid to it. Well, in this case, that's just the opposite. They threw all kinds of attention at it, and they did all kinds of, gave it all the good things that you would want to see. Now we are into the woods. We're into the driver review, and it's the STW. The STW. The STW is a forged club. It's a forged head, and it goes through a 14-step process. They forge the sole, they forge the face, and they forge the head. And there's 14 steps in order to get them so that they marry up together, and in a very precise fit. All right. No, there's no magic in there, no goo in here, none of that stuff. It's just based on quality of build and quality of fit. Now they have added what they call speed fins. That ought to look pretty familiar. They put speed fins on it. Okay, whatever. In order to help with the way that the club directs. They also have what I would call a mirrored black finish on the bottom. They're going to call it something else, but I truly I like the way that it looks. Even the little gold inlay that they have on it really goes with the club. The face isn't real big, but it has a really good look at a dress. But let's talk to Britt about it.
Pete Callaway, did the cosmetic design of this. What we do is we get together as a team and decide kind of what we want to do. We'll sketch out some ideas together, then he'll go to model it. I do some, but he did these, and then he'll bring it up and say, "What do you think?" And oh, that's awesome. Why don't we, cut it a little more here? And he'll go fix it, or then he'll say, "Hey, I thought this looked better," and I'm like, "You're right, that looks great." So, he's as good a designer, I think, as anybody there. He's great at shaping woods. He does all of our woods. Best wood shaper that I've ever been around. So, but that's kind of what we do. We map out. These are the features we want. This is the playability target we want. This is the CG location we want. So now let's go sketch it out, and then we start modeling it. Once we get that done, we do very detailed, CAD drawings, and we don't 3D model here or anything, but we send it to the factory. They do that for us, and then actually send us a 3D file, which I did have up on my screen, but and then we can manipulate it, change it, and then send it back to them, and they can fix it before we go to tool.
So we'll just use Pete as the segue into the wood.
Yep.
So the ST2W, the wood, the new one that's out. And if you see, it's got the fin. So what, I'll throw out the baseball or the softball question. What went into designing this? Because it's certainly, it's a different look than past models.
Yeah, it is a different look. Again, we knew we had a gap in our selection on drivers. We're kind of in transition from a couple of models that we'd had in the past, and we knew we needed to get aerodynamically maybe up to speed with some of the trends in the industry. The actual crown design, it looks a little similar to something you might have seen on a Ping or whatever. That wasn't the point. It's really more cosmetic. Where you get the advantage, I mean, it disrupts the air a little bit, but generally, see the shape and how we really float it back this way. Mm-hmm. That's the aerodynamic portion of this, much more than these fins. You can't make these fins high enough on a crown to make a whole lot of difference. Now, yeah, we can put them in wind tunnels, and we can do all kinds of expensive testing to show that, it stabilizes the head by, X number of degrees or miles per hour or whatever, or fractions of miles per hour. But it's really more about the shape. So that was kind of what we wanted to do as far as the look. The idea was we use a precision casting process in this, or precision forging process. I'm sorry, not cast. This one isn't cast. It's precision forging. But each die, from the crown to the sole to the face, there's about 3 or 4 dies. So it's not like you're just stamping them out of sheet metal and then tack welding them and putting this massive weld on them. These fit together very precisely, and it's a process that's a little less expensive than casting, and every bit as precise. And I think more and more we're going to go to it, because casting metal woods has gotten a little bit tougher. There's not as many people doing it. But anyway, but we wanted to make a model that it's got a little bit of a heel bias weighting. If you look at the weight, it's not directly back from center. It's a little bit towards the heel bias.
Right.
Obviously, when you only have like a 200-gram head and you can put 10 or 20 grams or so, in the heel, it can help square the club face. So that was one of the ideas of doing it that way. So, it's a heat treated 6.4 titanium with a GR4 titanium component to it, which again, you hear terms like beta tie and all of that, and those are great for marketing, and yeah, it's a good material, but you can heat treat 6.4 to do exactly the same thing and it not cost as much. And so that's kind of what we do. We felt like we needed a driver, a premium driver though, that we could sell. I think it's outstanding. So that was a thought process behind doing it.
Well, I like the fin thing. If nothing else, the fin thing helps shape where you're going to place the ball when you're at address.
Great,
right?
Great alignment piece.
It frames the ball.
Great alignment piece, and
yep.
We worked very hard on that. Anytime like you see the dots on the crown too, people don't realize that's really not right in the center, because if you put it in the center, it looks towards the toe. When you set it down, there's all kinds of little optical illusions there. And so, we played around with a bunch of different ones. And then when Pete kind of brought this one up, I said, you know what, I like the way it frames it. I mean, I think it looks good. And so that's what we went with. So yeah, a little different look for us, a little different color scheme for us.
I do like the matte finish though. It makes it look pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think you could get away with this thing being shiny black with the fins.
No, I don't think you could. And we're matte fans, because our other driver, the TC adjustable driver, is also a matte finish. So we like it, but we think we've got a great lineup, now with this driver and being able to do it. The Fairway woods look great as well. The hybrids, put the fins on those, as you can kind of see if I can get the light right.
There you go.
This one's it's not a super shallow face, but it's not super tall either. And again, you see this profile. I mean, this is very, very tapered. So, you set this down behind the ball, it's like, I can't help but get this up. I mean, this is going to be easy to get up. So, and then the hybrids, we did a little bit different look for the hybrid. It's not so much of a peanut shape, it's a little bit of a more streamlined shape, as we'd call it. But they all have the weight adjustment, which I think.
Will you guys be having a bunch of different weights to go in the back of these things, or?
Yeah, we do. We have them from 2 grams to 14 grams.
Nice.
So from a club making standpoint, it's such a clean way to tweak swing weight and overall weight and feel. The one thing I always hated was you have to mock up everything, and you're using your shaft tip weights, and then you got to adjust the shaft length a little bit, or you're pouring stuff down the shaft. That's so antiquated now. I know we all do it still in certain models, but we've tried to have weight adjustment in as many models as we can, especially in the woods. It's easier in the woods than the irons. We still have our KE4 line of irons that has one weight option in the Tour and a 2-weight option in the KE4S. And woods, I think it's just it's a great. You can put them together and tweak it all you want afterwards.
Yeah. Well, the other part I like, and I know we've talked about it before, and I called it black chrome. You called it something else. Just the we call it the beauty in the bag feature.
Yeah.
right? When it's just sitting there.
Rack appeal. Yeah.
And I think that the black chrome is just really quite cool, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of a polished PVD, type look. It really, the contrast with the matte, I think, is outstanding. And it just,
Yeah.
it looks like a tool. I mean, I've always wanted a golf club to look like a nice tool. It's kind of like a, really, nice gun with a good finish on it, or anything like that. That's kind of where we've tried to go, and not gotten too wild with our color scheme. So that's what I like about it. You're right. Thanks for calling that out, because we do spend a lot of time on cosmetically, what we end up with. We'll probably get 5 to 10 different samples once we actually get to metal samples, and then we end up tweaking them. We'll paint them and finish them ourselves, to tweak and then send back to the factory, because we have the ability to do all kinds of finishes here at the Golfworks, as you know. So yeah, we work hard on that as well.
So has the crew been able to hit these yet? Have they come back and go, hey, this is probably the longest club that we've had in the lineup for a while, or most accurate, or
well, the numbers are as good as anything we've had. Again, our TC drive, we kind of have this line in the sand, and we, number one, the first thing we do is we hit a ball, and how does it sound? And we get a lot of people's opinion on that. I would tell you, collectively, the 3 driver models we have in the line right now are by far the best sounding drivers we've done in a while. It's tough to get sound just right, even though everything's perfect. The head's like a bell, and you never really know how it's going to move and sound once you hit it. But we've done it long enough now, we kind of know what to do pre-production to get us to a really good spot. So the sound is great. The launch and the spin numbers, if you compare this to our TC driver or even our ISO T driver, they're all in the ballpark. And we've compared them to, let's just say, some other branded product that people are maybe more familiar with. And I'll just say we're every bit as good. How about that?
There you go. Every bit as good. So the one last little nerdy tech question is, when you're talking about forging the parts, right? How many parts were there?
This is a 4-piece.
So a face, a crown, a sole, and a transition?
Correct. Yep.
Look at that.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. And so, yeah, and again, it's a different type of forging process. I mean, if I cut it in half and showed you the weld, you would say, well, is that a weld? Is it? I mean, they literally snap together, and then it's a laser welding process that's very, very precise. I can tell you, in the old days, when you're going over and trying to make a driver, and if you see a driver out there for sale for $59 a driver head or something that's a forged driver and they're touting it titanium, I'm telling you, the weld is the size of your little finger. They used to take 4 pieces. I would see 2 factory workers holding them together in a gauge and another guy tack welding them, and then they would come back and then just put this big old weld on it. That's old forging. That's not precise forging. That's not high-end forging. But it's like with irons. I mean, you can't buy an iron for $9 and it have any kind of flat faces or good quality at all. Same with drivers. So,
Okay.
Oh, one other feature on the iron before we finish. We've done these multi-grooves on our irons for quite a few years. And, when the groove rule changed, we realized, well, how are we going to make up for, what the USGA is forcing us to do? And I know several other companies did, but basically we added about 3 grooves, and it still maintains conformity. So the more, more grooves, just like more treads on a tire, dissipate matter. Where in the old grooves, they were bigger and wider, they dissipated matter too, where we can't make them as big or as deep as we used to. So we do that on all of our irons and our wedges. And so that's something we've added.
So more groove, a new face, a new component in the top end with that gel stuff in the back.
Correct.
A heating process, and new look. And you guys have actually kind of stepped out with using gold now too, instead of the
we study
traditional
color
blue.
trends. Yeah, we study color trends, and we have a great marketing group, and Becky and Sandy, and we get their opinion. And you know, our colors have kind of been red and black, as a lot of companies tend to be. It's safe. But we kind of this coppery gold, and we said, you know what, that really looks good, and it looked good in this medallion right here. You know, it's at, and we thought, well, I think we go with it, and we couldn't be more pleased. I think it gives you some options.
Well, it transitions well into the driver with what, I mean, you're not going heavy with it. It's just basically accented type stuff. And
accented stuff is exactly right.
And it gives it, you know, it gives it a good appearance. On the wood, you know, you see trends where the face starts getting a little shallow, and then it starts getting a little bit big. And I guess to keep interest, and we must be getting into the taller face part of it now, which I tend to like. I like this little, the toe look here. I like the taller part of it, and it kind of makes it look like it's smiling almost. But
yeah, it's, you know, that kind of shape is a shape Pete and I both kind of prefer. And you know, what's the point of having a 460 cc head if you start limiting the hitting surface? And so the idea was, let's make it the way it's supposed to be to instill confidence and give you more face to hit it on. And then we can make up for that by not having it a big rounded head. You know, we'll take it and we slope it back, and that's how, you know, you can do a tall face and still stay within that 460 cc's, which you know, that's where you want to be. You know, in a driver, there's not really any reason to be smaller than that.
Cool. So now is all the ST2 stuff in house, ready to be ordered?
We are in stock with right hand, left handed, all hybrids, fairways, and drivers. I'm glad to say we were able to get these coming before the shutdown, and we had some initial quantities air shipped. We're waiting on the bulk of them, but we do have stock, and we should be having the backup supply arrive shortly. So we were lucky in that respect. We got them coming before the current situation.
There you go. All right. Well, though I didn't get to introduce you in the middle of all this, we just started talking like we normally do.
Yeah,
so
sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. So for those of you guys who know who I'm talking to, it's Britt Lindsey, and he's the vice president at Golfworks for R&D and what, jack of all trades and anything else.
Yeah, we all carry a lot of, titles. I mean, with vice president, technical services, R&D, product development, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we're just all golfers, you know, that they're lucky enough to get to work in the business, and you know, get to design clubs that we hope, you know, people like to play with, and you know, hey, we've been doing it a long time. I've been fortunate to work with some great people in the industry over the course of 30 plus years now, and feel like we got a pretty good handle on it. I've always thought we're kind of the best kept secret when it comes to designers and club and equipment, because we don't go out and market the way other companies do. But I just encourage people, if they haven't tried one, to give it a try. Give you a call, and you know, have Jim build you a 6-iron or 7-iron on any of our models, and compare them, because I think you'd be surprised. Okay.
Again, Britt, thanks for taking the time. I know we had some technical struggles there for a bit, but
well, let's say I had some technical troubles. You were fine, but that's fine. So no, it's, you know, like I said, I think I'm doing new computer. I'll put that in the budget. So
there you go. And we'll finish up this. And so now what we get to do is we get to go hit them, and we get to tell you how we think of it. And there you go. So that's the break.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Jim.
All right, Britt, thank you again, buddy. I appreciate the time that you took to talk with us and let us know more about what's going on at the Golfworks. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see him again on the channel. Now, how did they hit? Welcome to the stats section of the video, and the stats are provided by the FlightScope X3. The balls that I was hitting were Callaway Chrome Softs and Wilson Professionals. All right, we have the ST2W driver. It was a 10 degree. And as you can see, we carried it right at 248, got out to 268, i.e. 250 to 270, and very, very close to the center line, swinging 102.6 on average,
with a smash factor of 144. Now, the smash factor for an average good player, that's pretty much where that's at. Spin rate probably a little high based on what we were seeing, with a vertical of 16.6 in degrees. My angle of attack was just a negative 0.3, which I am okay with that, and we are averaging 20 yards a roll with what could be considered a small fade. So let's take a look and see how they flew. Alrighty, so we get to see I threw a few over to this way, and most of my shots were fades, but they were kind of more of a pull fade. So here's all 10 shots. And up they go, and they make their normal fan. But we look over here, it doesn't look nearly as bad. You get to see where, the majority of them are landing well within play when I let a couple go to the left, and then I had a couple on the pull to the right, so even Steven. And how they worked as a whole, 250, 240s out to the 260s. There's a 70, and the last one I got was 250, almost 260 out to 272. Jumped on that one just a little bit and also hit it very well, but the spin was still way up. So if we look here, 139, 140, 140. The rest of them are in the mid to high 140s. So basically I was starting to get a hold of the golf club, right? And we got to see, on the average, I'm not big angle of attack either way, except for maybe just the one. So all in all, hitting it just about the way that the numbers bear out at the 248 to 268. Let's see where they landed. Now we get to see this being the center line. Large grouping of them. There's, 5, 6 of them standing within 10 yards, and 2 more within 20, 3 more within 20, and the one just outside on the other side of it. So all in all, this is probably the first cut of roughs on either side, right on the edges, and these are playing straight down the middle. So not too bad, right? We'll take that as a normal play. And for hitting the ball like I was doing at 100 mile an hour, landing right around 250-ish, I'm pretty much getting all I can get out of the ball as far as I'm concerned. Now, let's talk about a couple of these that were in here, and we'll talk and the reason why you see such different numbers. Smash factor takes into account the ball speed and the club speed. All right, and it's a combination of the two. And what you see here is, in some cases, that I did not get into it at, these are good numbers to be sure, but not as good as, say, up in here, and certainly better than that, but certainly not as good as that. Now, I consider this number to be logarithmic, meaning that in the beginning, smaller changes don't do too much, but as they get bigger, the change or the effect of the change is much larger. So when you leave from here to here, that is a big, big, big change, and the quality of hit. And we'll use these two as an example. So at this particular one, I swung at 102.8. This one is 103.5. So on the average, just shy of a mile per hour. However, I did not hit that one that I swung faster as well as I did the one slower. And the end result was a 5-yard difference in carry. And I ended up spinning a little bit more, which panned out in the total yardage, so I ended up a little bit less, okay? So that was number 8 and 9. Let's take a look. So there's number 8. We get to see this one. All right, this was the 103 with a 139 hit. Not too bad, right? It did pretty good. All right, and here's number 9. A little bit higher, so if you're all in all, you're going to carry it a little further. Still landing in about the same spot, but you notice the height of the angle that it comes into. Because of the spin, I give up a little bit of that. So there's all kinds of maxing out that somebody could do. You just got to get in there and you've got to try it out. Now, if I wanted to get what could be my maximum, the blue here is a graphic representation of all the shots that I took. You can see that it turns over. That means I hit some high, they went low, hit some low, and they went long, and that's the reason why you have that bow tie effect. Now, if I was to hit this thing at the maximum speed that I've shown the machine I can do, so hopefully you learned a little something about, smash factor, how you get the ball maxed out, and what kind of options that a guy using a flight scope can give you. Now, let's go see what it looked like in the shop.
Hopefully that was a bit of a fitting session for you as well, right? We got to talk about some spin rates. We got to talk about launch angles in order how it affects, because we saw there's always that one that sits out of the group that you can always identify and take away what happened in order to make it better, right? That's what we really wanted to see on that one. So again, it worked very, very well. It got out there, and the feel in this thing, even when it got a little toey, really was very solid in the middle. It is a very, very solid club. One worth, if you're looking to build, this could be the club that you're looking for. What are the specs? All right, the specs say that it's a 58-degree lie, 10-degree loft, half a degree open, yet it talks about having this weight at a spot where it will do some good for keeping the club closed. I didn't necessarily find all that. I found a 58.5, that's okay. I found a 10-degree, but I did not find it to set open. I found it to set either square or maybe even just a tad closed, which for me is fine because I need a club that's about a degree closed. And you saw how I favored the inside for the most part, the inside of the fairway for me. So who's it for? Honestly, this thing could fit a lot of people. Now the righties have more loft options, right? And as Britt alluded to in either the first video or this video, that a 12-degree option will be coming, and assuming the popularity. And if guys get a chance to hit these things, it's gonna be a popular deal. So it's got a really good look. It's got a matte finish on the top. It's got a solid feel when you hit it. Obviously it responds. You saw how I hit it. And I would say again, we talked about being under the bell curve. It would fit a large percentage of those golfers. Where the better golfer has to have something that is open, it would probably set open at address, but you probably want to get a lower loft. And the guys that are needing a little bit more help, you can make it set close and not be real weird about it and get probably the correct size. So all in all, it's a really good club. I can't say that there's any one particular target in this one. This is that one that fits the average golfer. So well done, Golfworks. Pete, Britt, good job. If you're looking to build one or you need one built, just give us a call and we can throw one together for you in using some unique shafts that we get a hold of. And let's see your scores. Go low.